Former National Security Advisor John Bolton under federal investigation, accused of sending classified documents to his family from a private server while working for the White House. Now, this forced an FBI raid of both his home and office, which President Trump said he first learned about after seeing it on television. Joining us to discuss is former superintendent of the Chicago PD and retired special agent in charge of the FBI, Jody Weiss. Jody, good morning to you. First,
good morning.
John Bolton criticized and attacked Trump's handling of classified documents after the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, and yet here we are. He's being investigated for leaking classified documents. Talk about the sheer hypocrisy of the left right now, who is calling this politically motivated. So then, what was the raid on Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, the hypocrisy is pretty rich, isn't it? You look at what happened at Mar-a-Lago. All we heard after that search, or raid, if you want to use the term that is more appropriate, was no one is above the law, that let the process play out. And yet those very same people today are saying how chilling this search of John Bolton's residence was, that it's a threat to democracy, that it's revenge. Do you know what I call it, Jan? I call it accountability. The lawfare that was waged against Donald Trump, if that goes unchecked, as the left has told us to do, just move on, there's nothing here, just move forward. If that goes unchecked, there will be no deterrent for such behavior in the future. But this time, the administration needs to be smart. They need to look at real crimes, not politics, crimes that are supported by actual facts. And then they need to effectively message what they're doing to the American people. Explain why you focused on John Bolton. Explain what you were looking for. Explain the process. After a thorough analysis of those items taken, if there's nothing there, tell us nothing there. If there is something there, explain how the process moves forward. But this has to be addressed this way, and I do think it's accountability for what happened in the past. Cannot happen again.
Yeah. And this was executed, by the way, by FBI Director Kash Patel. And again, Trump said he didn't know anything about it, and he first learned about it when he saw it on TV. And I think you were just talking there about the process. Explain how it works. How are FBI search warrants obtained?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There's got to be two things. There's got to be probable cause that a crime committed. There's got to be probable cause that evidence of said crime is going to be at that location. An agent will then go in front of a judge and he will swear to those facts. The judge will then decide if those facts actually support the issuing of a search warrant. That warrant is going to be very specific as to the location and what can be seized. So in this case, the judge found that the probable cause stated in the affidavit, which we haven't seen yet, but it was satisfied, the facts were satisfied, and he issued a search warrant. So it's pretty straightforward.
When are we going to see that affidavit, do you think?
Oh, that's what everybody wants to see, because that'll explain why that took place. It'll explain what the agents were looking for, and that's important. I think as soon as possible is be much better. The American public wants to know, what were you looking for? What's going on?
How long? What's the holdup? How long does that take typically?
It can take a long time. If it's under seal, a lot of it will be dependent upon when it's going to be released. So I'm hoping sooner than later.
Another big headline we're following this morning has been this explosive juvenile crime here in D.C. On August 3rd, a member of Doge tried to stop a carjacking and was literally beaten to a pulp. You can see the picture right here. A 15-year-old boy and girl were arrested and held at a youth services center until their hearing that happened this past Thursday. They were released. The girl is going to be sent to a youth shelter. The boy is going to be released to his mom and under this electronic monitoring. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Judge Pirro said it great. There's zero consequences for this behavior when it's handled this way. You look at that victim. He had a concussion. He had a broken nose. He was beaten severely, had to get EMS attention. And this actions of this judge, it sends no deterrence, Jan, none whatsoever. Yes, the laws need to be changed. But until they are, this is going to keep going on. People ask, so why did Donald Trump send the National Guard into D.C.? This is a perfect example. This lax approach to juvenile crime has to be addressed. And I think until D.C. starts getting their act together, treat violent crime serious, and show that they can police effectively, this is going to keep going on. And this federalization of the Capitol, I think it's the only way, at least right now, to bring peace to the streets of our Capitol.
Yeah, and very quickly, when we talk about the suspects in this, I mean, we're talking about 15-year-olds. They're children. These are like young teens. They're children. And you've mentioned before, this is the problem with recidivism. It literally happens so often with the youth, with young people, because they aren't held to the same standards as perhaps an adult. Should that change?
Of course, 100%. What's going to happen with these kids? They take part in this crime. Nothing really happens to them. So do you think they're going to do it again? Of course. There has to be consequences, and you have to treat kids doing this level of violent crime as an adult and send that message. That's the only way to stop this.
Former superintendent of the Chicago PD and retired special agent in charge of the FBI, Jody Weiss. Always great to see you, sir. Have a great week.
You too, Jan. Thank you.